Hi, so what we're doing is building a Wimshurst machine. Now, for a Wimshurst machine, you basically need two large discs. Those discs were traditionally in glass, but let's face it, glass can be a challenge to handle as well as mount. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it out of acrylic. Now, why acrylic? Well, if you remember ages ago, we did a video on getting bits out of LCD screens, including these massive chunks of acrylic. So I've got two LCD screens that I took apart earlier and got these beautiful acrylic sheets. So what I need to do with those is cut some circles out of them, and the circles I want are going to be about that big, and that fits rather nicely onto my acrylic sheet, because that's a challenge to cut, because acrylic doesn't saw particularly well. It will saw, but it does chip and it does make it a bit of a nuisance. So the old chop saw technique really doesn't work very well. What you need is a cutter. Now, I've made this cutter from bits of printer, so let me give you a close-up of what the cutter looks like. Okay, the bits and pieces you can get out of printers are absolutely awesome, obviously. This is just a bit of 8mm bar straight from a printer. This actually is a very chunky piece of bar that I got from another printer, and you'll notice at the end has got this bit here, which is 7mm. So I used a section of this. I basically cut a section of that off. And that's it there. So that section that I cut off is straight from that bar. I drilled an 8mm, I flattened one bit, drilled an 8mm hole, turned it around, flattened it, drilled a 6mm hole, and then put a saw cut all the way down and a bolt through it, a 6mm bolt. Now my 8mm bar will fit in there, and that bolt will tighten down, holding that exactly where I want it to be. So that's the basics of the cutter. Now the cutting head actually I bought. Actually it was lying around from an old tool. So this came as an old tool, and that cutting head fits on that bar equally, and I can slide that up and down to have the position I want. I've drilled a 7mm hole in my acrylic, so I pop that in there, fasten that down there, and go round and round and round. Okay, so I've screwed the acrylic to this bit of heavy board so it basically doesn't move. I've set the tool to the right distance, drilled out my 7mm hole in the centre, slot the tool in, and then just go round and round and round. And it's like any of these things. Try not to do the work of the tool, let the tool do the job for you. So when you've done that, what you'll end up with is a large disc of acrylic. I think it's kind of cool actually. So that little tool obviously will cut discs up to twice that as the diameter. Very useful, very handy. Wanted to show you it separately so it didn't get lost in the main video. Now I've got another one to do for the other disc obviously. So I'll do that and get on with the Wimshurst machine. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you very much for watching.